back with today's special guest, Representative Mike Brown. And Mike, on this segment of the show, I'd like to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the bills that you're going to be working in this session that you've just begun, and some of those special areas that you want to do good work in.
Thank you. I think you know, one of the areas that I took a beating on last year, and some of the families of Oklahomans that have children with autism, and I'm going to run one more House Joint Resolution that would actually take it away from the legislature, give it to the voters of Oklahoma to decide whether or not these children with autism deserve a chance to have insurance coverage. A lot of their families are decimated at this point because they can't even buy insurance for their kids.
And that's a growing population of children, is it not?
It is. It's a growing population of children. I mean, you know, we can stick our head in the sand and say it doesn't exist, but until it comes home to you and it becomes personal to you. Now, I have no children in my family or a distant family that have autism. It's just one of those needs that I felt like that those families were not being represented. So I took it upon myself to carry Nick's law, and they decided, and I really don't know why, because there's so many other states, 16 I believe other states have already passed autism coverage. It will happen in Oklahoma. When? I'm hoping that they will at least give it a chance to be heard. I don't feel like it received a fair hearing, and now if they'll hear the resolution, send it to the vote of the people, I think it would be fair for them also. It would get the monkey off their back also.
So briefly, how does that work differently from just say a regular House bill, the joint
resolution? We will still vote on that joint resolution. It'll have to pass both houses, and it sets up, it will go to the polls on November, and the people of Oklahoma, it will be one of the state questions that says, do these children with autism deserve to have insurance coverage? Good. So that's one area there. I'm running also a companion bill to that would allow families that are already providing insurance for their children that are in home and they're taking care of these, and it's a lifelong commitment to these families that do not want to institutionalize their children, but they're going to take care of them at home. And they have insurance now, but their insurance ceases to exist once they turn 18.
Right.
And a lot of these people are going to care for these and be caregivers throughout their whole life. And I'm going to run a bill to extend that to at least age 25, so that these people with children with disabilities would be insured at least until they're age 25. Another bill that I'm running is my Buy America, Buy Oklahoma Act. And I feel like that this is one of the main reasons that our economy is in the shape that it's in today, is that you can't go to the store today and buy a product that's made in the United States.
Absolutely.
And it really needs to be made in America, you know, or made in Oklahoma. And if we would stop sending our jobs to Mexico, to China, you know, we are helping their bottom line every day that we go in and we buy a China-made product. I have nothing against international trade, but I also believe in trade here at home. And for every pair of socks that are American-made, or every suit, you know, I was talking to our superintendent the other day at one of the games, and I said, you know, if we were to take inventory of what everyone here has on and what they drove here in, and made them throw it out there on the gym floor, we'd have a lot of naked people walking home because they don't have anything made in America
That's
anymore.
right.
I mean, it's sad to say that, you know, I had a constituent call me the other day that wanted to buy an iron, just a clothes iron, made in America. Hers, after 20 years, it went out. She goes to town, she couldn't find one. And we're not giving these Americans an opportunity to invest back into American-made products. And I guarantee you, when we invest back into America, then we're going to grow our jobs and grow our own economy. So
the money always follows the job.
And you know, as being mayor, that if you can keep that dollar locally, it's going to spend 7 or 8, 9 more times. And that's my endeavor with the bill that I'm running. It's tax neutral, doesn't cost any more money, but it's going to reallocate where some of those tax dollars are going. We can't give a tax break to companies to compete with China. We just can't compete with 20 cent an hour labor. But we can incentivize you as a store owner to put an American-made product on that shelf with what you're already receiving in tax dollars. And I can incentivize you as a customer to demand that that's American-made product. And that way my kids and your kids will have a job, you know, because my Wrangler jeans aren't made in Mexico anymore. They're made in America again. So, you know, I'm pushing for some support in that. And I don't know who wouldn't support it, but you know, getting a hearing is a major thing, is to make sure it gets a hearing. One of the other jobs that or bills that I'm running is whenever we pass the lottery, we wanted all that money to go into education, you know, and there'll be a lot of moves to change that, to, you know, to help these other agencies that are hurting, you know, and that's a legislator's right to try to move that. Oklahomans put a lockbox on that and said it's education.
Right.
I believe it needs to stay in education, and I'm going one step further. And if you were to win that $165 million, Jerry, you've got an income tax now that's due on that $165 million. That does not go to education. Your income tax on that winnings. Well, I believe that your income tax on that winnings needs to go back to education too. So I'm redirecting that income tax off of that lottery winnings to go back to education. That's one of our greatest needs in Oklahoma's education, and I think that the voters wanted that money to go into education. I believe that's where it should stay. And the final bill that I'm running is to give Oklahoma consumers a little credit card protection. I've got a lot of constituents that have made their payments on time. They've never been late, and they have good credit, but yet their rates seem to have went through the roof this last year whenever the economy took a nosedive. Well, you know, it's not the consumer's fault that credit card company lost a lot of money, you know, in the market. So I'm trying to put some credit card protection there for these people that have held good standing with credit cards, and yet the credit companies are trying to recoup some of their losses through those that have been good payers. So I think those people need to be protected. I mean, those are your good customers, and you need to protect them. So running some bills there to actually try to protect Oklahoma. That's what your government should do, is protect the constituents first, do no harm. So
exactly.
With that, it's going to be a very frustrating year for a lot. You know, the agencies are really hurting right now, so it's going to come down to priorities.
And where do you see, we know 2010, the last half year of 2010 is certainly going to be challenging. 2011 is going to be, as all predictions are, it's going to be very, very difficult. So let's move to 2012 or 2013. Let's move down the road in the future. What's going to be the change agent, Representative Brown, that makes this thing turn around in Oklahoma? And you mentioned in the earlier segment we're usually the last to be affected by some of these things, and so we're kind of at the tail end when it gets corrected. How do you see that?
Well, right now we'll be working on 2011 budget. I mean, that's what we're going to be working on. 2010's already done, and we're trying to fill those holes from 2010 because they were so short on all of their projections. And some of these areas are 30% below.
Wow.
I mean, our economy is ranked worst in the nation right now. You know, 2 years ago or a year ago, they sat on the floor and said, we're insulated from this. We're not going to go through it. Well, they were wrong, dead wrong. So the policies that were in effect were wrong. And looking forward to the 2011 and the 2012 budget, it depends on how much money that we use out of the rainy day fund. We've got $597 million to use out of that. It hasn't been touched yet. We have borrowed from it close to $234 million, I believe, that we borrowed out of there so far. That'll have to be repaid. If we take and use all of it this year, and the $690 million that we received in stimulus money, and we use all of that, if we use everything, we're still going to hold agencies to about a 3 or 4% cut across the board. If we just take it out a little at a time and leave a little bit in reserve now, emergency reserves, we could go up to as much as a 14% cut. So looking forward, I'm going to fall back to my bills. It's the jobs, it's the economy. So we've got to start rolling this into our economy and creating these jobs and buying American again. So that's going to pull this nation out, and I'm all for it. I think that we're going to rebound. We're going to have to go through some tough cuts, but we will rebound, and they need to be a little smarter whenever it comes to the massive cuts next time.
I want to thank you for being our state representative and doing a great job for us in Oklahoma City and here in the district. And we know it's a sacrificial experience, and being away from your family and friends and so forth so much of the year. But we do want to thank you for being a great representative for us here in the district.
I appreciate that.
We're glad to have Representative Brown, and we'll try to have him back on the show maybe later in the session and see how things are going. And stay with us. We'll be right back.